Hi, I'm Kevin with Nexthink. Today I'll show you some of the ins and outs of Nexthink's advanced intelligent monitoring, discovery, and analytics solution. I'll show you how with Nexthink you'll be able to audit your IT infrastructure in real time from the perspective of your end users' workplaces, physical or virtual, and how our product can be integrated into leading management software solutions for true end-to-end IT management. The first topic of this Nexthink demo is an overview concerning savings. Savings is one of the hottest topics within IT teams today. One of the ways to cut costs is through rationalized license usage by avoiding unnecessarily purchased licenses. Some solutions already exist, like add-ons for SCCM or EasyVista. However, these solutions are difficult to configure and are based on a data catalog which is not always reliable. With Nexthink, you don't have to configure a thing, simply just run the investigations. Customers have saved up to $180,000 just through the use of Nexthink's baseline service, which is an assessment of your IT infrastructure over a 1-month period. With this table, you can compare the amount of software installed with the real usage time allocated to your software. It gives you the amount of software which is underused or not used at all. By clicking on a specific software, you can see all of the information per user related to the usage. With Nexthink, we provide a full mapping of all applications and software usage. Most companies do not manage their stock of licenses very well. For instance, if a new employee is hired, you may purchase a new license for that employee, but you simply may not have to. With Nexthink's ability to fully map your overall software usage, you gain the visibility needed to make the right decision. You also may ask yourself, how are my company's desktops being used? For example, if an employee is working only 50% of their time on their desktop, but it's up and running 24 hours a day, and considering the amount of users you might have multiplied by the cost of energy for unnecessary power usage, well, you can do the math. Nexthink also provides you with mapping of your company's printer usage, displaying all local and network printing servers, black or white or color usage, and the utilization of front and back printing, offering you with an important savings opportunity considering the rising costs of printing in paper. Here you can see there are 950 color printed pages in one day. Multiply this by the working days of the year, and considering color printing costs at 50 cents per page, again, you can do the math. Now we're going to discuss the topic of hardware renewal. This section makes you ask yourself, must we routinely renew our company's hardware, or should we take into consideration the real usage of hardware and the needs of our employees? According to Gartner research, we can increase the life of a desktop from 4 to 7 years, all thanks to virtualization. Now take a look at the Finder. I can show you more concerning the proactive side of Nexthink. Let's take an example here of a situation you might face. If you want to have more data regarding your bandwidth consumption because you have several users complaining that their desktops are too slow, you consider purchasing more capacity, but this can be quite expensive. The first question you have to ask yourself is my network being properly used? So let's take a look and ask Finder to display all of the above sources, i.e. desktops, in our company. Here we have 302 sources, and I would like to understand what traffic these machines are generating. Here you have the possibility to rank the bandwidth usage, and you notice that some sources in particular generate a large amount of bandwidth. The first interesting question I ask is this traffic business-oriented or not? So I take a look and I can see every active binary on this desktop and can display the outgoing and incoming data volume. Here we can see that Winamp, a media player operating on shareware, uses 10 gigabytes of bandwidth. So of course now you ask the question, is the application being used by multiple people in the company? It is very easy with Nexthink to highlight within this context. And here it is. We have 23 sources using this application. You can also have a network view, which allows you to see that Winamp established a connection directly to the internet, bypassing the proxy. In conclusion, these are just a few examples of how Nexthink allows for savings. In all, today with Nexthink, we address 46 saving control points. As we like to say at Nexthink, an IT help desk has two enemies, time and an influx of calls. The time to resolve each case can disappoint your users and creates unexpected costs. The help desk is designed to only handle a certain amount of calls, but every once in a while, a particular incident creates an influx of calls. Nexthink gives you the tools to prevent this sort of situation. Today, almost all companies are in reactive mode. In fact, according to Forrester, 70% of IT incidents are reported by the end users themselves. For example, if multiple users are calling to complain that their mailing tool is not working, the help desk can deduce that there's likely an issue stemming directly from the network or the servers themselves. But you'll have to ask a lot of questions, like how long has the issue persisted, which application are you using, etc. And this is very inconvenient in terms of time, frustrating to your end users, and often you are lacking reliable answers. With Nexthink, you'll be able to save tremendous amounts of time by being able to search the username and immediately see the computer in use and any and all events which have occurred now and in the past, as well as the time usage of this particular person. By zooming out, we notice the Exchange service stopped working on the 24th, when before everything was okay. The question is, what happened between the 23rd and the 24th? So we are just going to zoom in on the details of the day for the 24th. And look, we see here that Exchange has not been working since the early morning. This view will also show that even though the service, in this case Outlook, was not working since 8 o'clock, the user did not call until 11 o'clock. Nexthink will help to enhance the communication between you and your users and will increase the trust they place in your help desk's capacity to solve problems. Here we already know what has not been working for quite a while, but now we are going to try and find the answer right away. This page gives you all the information which is relevant to you and is completely customizable. You'll find alerts and issues related to CPU usage. And here we see a new patch that has been installed on the user machine. This is the new Microsoft Outlook 2007 on the very same morning just before the mailing tool stopped working. Here we cannot guarantee that's the problem, of course, but it's certainly a clue. At least now we have something to respond with to the user to ease communication. Now we would like to see if this patch has been installed on other user machines as well. And indeed, we see that 8 other machines may have problems with the patch. And then we become proactive by being able to solve user issues before they even call or notice there's an issue. Here you can even create a custom list and send this list to SCCM, for example, to disinstall the patches. Here we also gain a lot of time by consulting the services dashboard on the home screen. Here you can display alerts for any services you utilize in your company. We see here on the Exchange service line, from 9 to 9:30, we have 8 users with connection issues. From here I can directly investigate the issues, but I also have direct access to the 8 machines that have connection problems. And here we see the same 8 machines, just as we saw before, and now we see how we could have avoided all of the calls to the help desk in the first place. This is being proactive. Finally, we can also visualize the service with a graphical view of the previous 24 hours. I have here the traffic generated by all mailing tools. I notice that I have a lot of Outlook users and some directly connected to the internet bypassing the proxy server. We can also check the average response time and notice that there is an abnormality. By double-clicking, I can isolate the user where the issue occurs. And here we immediately see that only one version of Outlook has a problem, and we again find the same 8 machines. Another issue that help desks incur is the subjectivity of the user. When someone calls and says, "My desktop is slow," what does this mean? And often the same person says, "Now it's better, but yesterday it was really slow." With Nexthink and its source view, you'll be able to get rid of this subjectivity and have the accuracy needed to resolve issues of this nature. For example, Mr. Jonin is calling to complain that his desktop is slow. We just have to type his name in the search bar here, and then all of the desktop he's using will appear. No need to ask him which one he's currently using, since we can ask the system, and we have our answer. Then we just have to click on it to see the source view. Wow, a lot of colors here. You can see red, yellow, and blue, and as you may have guessed, red and yellow are not good. Here at the bottom, we can see that this desktop is only used by Mr. Jonin, and clearly, he's not complaining for nothing. We see that this desktop has been experiencing repeated application crashes, particularly with PowerPoint and Acrobat Reader, as well as freezing applications, again PowerPoint in this instance. So here we can see that at the same time, this desktop is consuming a lot of memory. We notice that this person only has 1 GB of memory, and that 100% of the memory is used by multiple processes. If now we go to the properties table, we have all the information hardware and operating services on this desktop. On top of that, Nexthink allows you to make a comparison of all the desktops in your company. Here, for example, this desktop only has 1 GB. Is that normal? Is this a corporate standard? But here we can see that most of the desktops have 4 GB and only a minority still have 1 GB. Maybe it's time to upgrade those desktops, therefore preventing user annoyance and an overflow of support calls. We also know, thanks to our link with the Active Directory, which department each user belongs to, and therefore we can determine which department uses more memory when compared to one another. Is it normal for someone from R&D to only have 1 GB of memory? This is an example of how Nexthink can give you a contextual and comprehensive view of your overall IT, but most importantly, from the end user perspective. Still, on the same desktop, we also notice the hard drive is nearly full at 92%. We now have very specific answers for Mr. Jonin and take the appropriate action. Another topic where Nexthink can bring you valuable information is for printer management. Again, it is very simple. You have the type of printers along with all the related investigations or objects. Now, if we click on printers, for example, you will have a list of all the printers that have been used by all users. You'll see all the ones that have been used through a printing server directly by their IP address, as well as the ones used locally. You can also see which users are using which printers and which printers are getting the most use. Also, if you focus on one printer, you will be able to see who is consuming what and rank your users by their consumption that you can filter by page. You can focus on one or several users to see what software these users are using to print. In this instance, we see here that these users are printing in color from a mailing tool. You can then track what is printed in color and try to enhance your printing policy in order to save more money. Another major benefit you'll receive from Nexthink is on the issue of security. Let's start with an example. We'll create an investigation so you can see how simple it is. Here, a user complained because he has been blacklisted due to spam activity. He already checked Exchange and everything seems to be normal, nothing suspicious. So we are going to ask if there are some binaries which are currently using a part reserved for mail. Here, by the way, you can see how complex it is to run an investigation. We can then see a different version of Outlook is being used, but also a suspicious program here. Let's check the network activity with a graphical view. We notice here that some connections are going through my mailing servers while others are connecting directly to the internet. Let's focus on the connection that goes directly to the internet and underline the suspicious application called gamexyz.exe. By staying on the live, I can see that this application is doing 68.7 megabytes of outgoing traffic. Then with the drill down capacity of Nexthink, I can focus on the connections and traffic, knowing which destinations the IP address has established a connection. Also, we know how much time the connection lasted and the exact amount of outgoing traffic for each one of the connections. So here, in terms of security policy, you can validate that all of the elements you put in place are effective because according to Gartner, 80% of security threats come from the desktop. Thank you very much for following today's demonstration. I hope you gained valuable insight as to the ways Nexthink empowers your end users and maximizes your IT infrastructure's greatest potential. For more information, please visit our website at nexthink.com, and don't forget to find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Stay tuned for more empowering videos from Nexthink TV.